Resident Evil, the movies. Resident Evil, the games. The survival horror juggernaut that spans 30 years of games, spin-offs, and god-awful movies. Launched in 1996, Resident Evil burst onto the scene, popularizing the survival horror genre. The series would have major success with Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, and who could forget Resident Evil Resistance?
What the fuck is going on here?
Just kidding, we don't talk about that one. The insanely popular Resident Evil 4 would reshape the third-person action and survival horror genre, and would go on to become one of Capcom's best-selling titles. Unfortunately, this would be the series' peak for a while, as the series would begin to stumble with Resident Evil 5, which took the game in a heavy action direction. Sunny skies, more ammo, and a bigger emphasis on gunplay left horror fans mixed. Resident Evil 6 would continue this fall from grace and leave the series dormant for a few years. But then, Resident Evil 7 would release a few years later and revive the genre, and ignite a new renaissance for the series. Following Resident Evil 7, we would get a remake of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and the much beloved Resident Evil 4. There is no better time to be a Resident Evil fan than right now, especially with Resident Evil Requiem around the corner. And my shameful secret that I have never played these games.
What? No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
Despite growing up during the release of these games, when I was perusing the aisles of Blockbuster, the covers would scare the absolute dog shit out of me. So I never played them. With Requiem releasing soon, I wanted to see just who is Leon Kennedy, and are these residents truly evil? Starting with Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 begins with possibly the best looking cheeseburger I have ever seen rendered in a video game. Seriously, can we stop and take a look at this cheeseburger right here? We don't know who this guy is. All we know is that he hates his wife.
Corpse. Like a walking corpse, man.
Sounds like my wife.
Is a bad driver, and he's bald. Then a little while later, we meet Leon Kennedy for the first time. Wait a second, did he just put diesel in his Jeep? Go back, seriously, go back and look at it. He just put diesel in his fucking Jeep. Anyway, Leon sees a little blood and goes to check on the residents. And the residents do in fact turn out to be evil. So Leon decides to skedaddle, but not before running into Claire.
Don't shoot! Get down!
Since Leon totally destroyed his Jeep by putting diesel in it, they decide to steal this cop car instead, and head to the Raccoon City police station. We learn due to an outbreak, the residents are in fact evil, and hopefully that's the last time I make that joke. So bald guy number 7 crashes into us, and now we are separated from Claire.
Claire, you okay? Yeah.
And we will not be in the same room with her until the very last scene of the game. No, I'm dead ass serious. We will not be like physically together in the same room with her again until 10 hours later at the very last cutscene of the game. Leon makes his way to the Raccoon City police station, and this is where the bulk of the game takes place at. The station's pretty empty, and we take a look around the east side and the woman's restroom. And we meet another survivor, and he's dead. But we do get his notebook. We get back to the main hall where we're saved by my man, Marvin. Marvin tells us the station is overrun and we need to escape through a secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel! Secret tunnel! Through the mountain!
And to open this secret tunnel, we need 3 medallions. Jesus Christ, what kind of fucking police station? I know this used to be an art museum, but Jesus, how did anybody get around this police station? This is fucking Pan's Labyrinth police station. How does anybody get anywhere? How did any actual work get done when you can't get around the place? Luckily for us, the first medallion is actually right up these stairs. So we place that medallion and get a glimpse into the secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel!
Now we head to get our next medallion. We run into this welcome home sign, which eerily reminds me of the Silent Hill 2 welcome home sign, if you remember that. But solving this puzzle gives us a high capacity mag. A little while later, we find the dark room, a roll of film, but no medallion. Then Marvin calls us back to the main hall, and I'm pretty sure this is the first and only time Marvin will use the radio the entire game, which is kind of weird when you think about it. We get back to Marvin, and he shows us some security footage that Claire is finally here. So we head to the east side to meet Claire. On the way to meet Claire, a fucking helicopter crashes through the building, and the weirdest part about this whole scene is that Leon does not acknowledge it while you're playing it. Like, seriously. So he doesn't really say anything. I mean, he says something in the cutscene, but he doesn't actually say anything when it happens in the moment. It's kind of weird. So we meet Claire, and they have the weirdest, most positive, like, elevator conversation on Earth.
Claire. It's so nice to see you.
How are you doing? That helicopter just came out of nowhere.
I'm in one piece.
And this is going to continue throughout the entire game, where they're going to have these weirdly positive conversations where like nothing of value is actually said between the two of them. Seriously, it's almost like they're talking about the fucking weather or something instead of talking about the absolute collapse of everything they know in civilization as we know it. Unfortunately, zombies show up and they split up again. A little while later, we head to the library and we find our second medallion. We head back to the main area, get that medallion placed, and now we only need one more medallion to access the secret tunnel. This third medallion, I actually got lost for a very long time, like hours. But I opened a few safes, got a shotgun, solved a few puzzles. Finally, I placed some C4, and then this gave me my last medallion. We head back to the main hall, we place this medallion, and we finally get access to our secret tunnel. Unfortunately, though, Marvin's not looking good, and Marvin tells us to go on without him. We head down the secret tunnel. I'm not gonna make that joke again. I've already made that joke like 3 times. And we run into Dr. Birkin. Our first boss battle. I thought this was a good boss battle. My only issue with this boss battle was that I thought this was one of those things where you had to just survive against him as long as you can. I didn't realize you could actually damage him. But once I figured that out, it was actually pretty easy. So eventually I beat him, but I'm sure we'll see him again. A little while later, we reach the parking garage where we run into Ada, the most least trustworthy person I have ever met in my fucking life. Seriously, she couldn't be a bigger traitor. She couldn't be a more obvious traitor if her fucking t-shirt said, "I'm going to betray you, Leon Kennedy." So she claims to be FBI. Obviously, she's lying. Then we reach the jail cell and meet a reporter, and he's dead. I'm sure whatever killed him will not be bothering us. So our new goal is to steal his parking pass so we can get out of the parking garage. And to do this, we're gonna need electrical parts. So we find some keys, a few upgrades, killed a few hellhounds, and we get our first electrical part. So we continue on, and I realize we now have access to the police station. I thought that whole area would be closed off. I didn't know we could actually go back. So we return to the main hall, and then we realize Marvin is in fact a zombie. R.I.P. Marvin, R.I.P. Marvin, R.I.P. Marvin. I will be back later to put him out of his misery. I continued on, and then this guy actually showed up to make my fucking life hell. I actually don't know if this was a scripted sequence, like if as soon as you return to this helicopter he shows up, because I haven't been back to this helicopter since I last saw Claire, so I don't know if you go back there earlier, if he shows up earlier. I made my way to a clock tower, and I actually spent way too long here because I kept thinking there was a third gear. So I spent about an extra hour looking for this fake third gear that doesn't actually exist, when you can just use the second gear and you can reuse it on the other one, but whatever. I solved the clock tower puzzle and got our second electrical part. We used the electrical parts to get that badge. We learn about a net and the G virus, then make our way back to the garage. Oh shit! Luckily, Ada saves us and we are free to leave. Funny, I actually thought this was the end of the game. I don't know why. Anyway, a little while later, we run into this guy and his kid is obviously a zombie. And Ada is so adamant about killing this kid. She's like, "Oh, we gotta terminate the fucking kid right now." She's like, "Oh, we can't let it spread." Even though we just left a whole police station full of zombies and shit. Like, are we gonna go back and terminate them too? We left all those people, but she's like, "No, we have to terminate this kid." Like, why is she so adamant about this? And it just kind of makes her come off as a fucking asshole. And then I'm supposed to kind of feel bad for her later on. And add that to the fact that I feel like she's obviously going to betray you. Anyway, later on, we head to my least favorite area.
My big old fat ass baby loves to eat.
The sewers. So we run into Annette Birkin. She shoots Leon. Leon passes out, and now we're playing as Ada. You solve a few puzzles. You run from this guy. Almost get burned alive. But then Ada falls off this ledge, and she gets fucking like stabbed in the leg, and then Leon wakes up, and now we gotta save Ada. I actually really fucking hate this level. I'm not sure if it was in the original game or not, but it's just dark and confusing, and it feels kind of pointless. And we spend the whole fucking time trying to save Ada, which I think is just dumb, because I really don't like her. She's obviously gonna betray you. She doesn't seem like a very good person, and we're doing all this work to save her. Anyway, so I solved a few puzzles, went back and put Marvin out of his misery. R.I.P. Marvin. R.I.P. Marvin. Killed this fucking Cronenberg. Then I ended up in a puzzle room with a bunch of chess pieces, and this one took me a really long time. Eventually I solved this puzzle. Then I ran into the garbage room where we run into Birkins again. So we fight Birkins again and we crush him with a shipping container. I'm sure we will be seeing him again. Make it to the garbage room and we find Ada, and then she's like, "Oh, go on without me," but Leon's like, "No, I won't leave you here." Yeah, it's something admirable about his optimism. Despite all this terrible shit that's happening, he's really, like, he's kind of naive, but he just wants to do the right thing, and he still wants to be a good cop, despite the fact that society is obviously collapsing around him and the rules don't necessarily apply anymore. But it's actually kind of nice to see how naive and optimistic he is. I don't know if he stays this way throughout the series, but there's something admirable about it, and it's almost inspiring in a way, which makes me like him even more. So Leon and Ada get to this cable car, and then they kiss, pants, despite the fact that he's got to smell like absolute rotten nutsack after crawling through that fucking sewer for 4 hours. So later on, we arrive at Nest, and we don't have clearance, so we gotta go look for a badge. We learn this area is some sort of hydroponics research center, and the infected are all like these fucking super cool looking plant zombie hybrids. And this is actually, I think, one of the cooler parts of the game, because it goes from this gothic horror vibe in the police station, etc., to this kind of sci-fi horror, which is my personal favorite. Shout out Dead Space. Fuck EA for canceling Dead Space 2 Remake. The main puzzle of this area confused the absolute fuck out of me, but I think the gist of it was that we need some sort of liquid to kill the plants, and then killing all these plants will give us access to that badge. So we get the liquid, but then we gotta make it cold for some reason. So we go to the low temp testing area to get it cold.
Who left the freezer open?
Who left the fridge open?
So we get this liquid cold, and then we get it back to the plants, and we use it to kill all the plants. Then now we can get this clearance badge. And then this fucking guy shows up again. So we get away, and we use the clearance badge, and this gives us West Side Bridge access. Or we find this video of Birkin's getting killed, and this soldier is so upset when he's like, we're supposed to bring him alive. When like he was so obviously like 1 second away from pulling that trigger and killing you all. Like, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to let you just fucking get shot? After that, we finally get the G virus, suspiciously easy, and we can head out and fuck. So Birkin shows up again, and then Annette tries to shoot him with water for some fucking reason, which does absolutely nothing. We find out Dr. Birkin's injected himself with the G virus, and this big disgusting monster is actually Dr. Birkin's. Obviously, the water Annette sprayed on him didn't do anything, so he wakes up, and now we have to fight him. This took me about 3 tries to actually beat him. I can't lie. This may have been like the harder boss battle of the game, but I think he's actually dead now. So we meet up with Annette again, and we find out that Ada is not actually FBI. Holy fuck, who would have thought? Who would have thought? She's a mercenary who wants to sell the G-Virus to the highest bidder, which Leon has a hard time believing this, but it's like, dude, you met her like 4 fucking hours ago. Like, you trust this woman with your life? Our fondest memories of her are that kiss on the cable car, and that time she tried to terminate that guy's fucking kid. She's obviously gonna betray you. So after that, the self-destruct initiates, and we gotta get the hell out of here. Then we run into Ada, and holy shit, Trader O was a traitor. Who would have fucking thought? Who would have thought? They have this standoff, and then Annette shows up as an absolute fucking crack shot with a pistol and shoots Ada in the shoulder. Ada falls to her death, and now we've got to escape. Then, holy shit, we run into Claire. We haven't seen her since that fucking helicopter crash, and they have another absolutely nothing conversation about absolutely nothing. So we continue our escape, and now we have to fight Mr. X. So we have to fight this guy, and he's absolutely kicking my ass until we're given a rocket launcher. Somehow, Ada has returned. Now, I don't know if later on it's explained how she survived, but I mean, dude, she fell like fucking Emperor Palpatine, you know? I guess he was alive too. The rocket launcher basically ends this fight. We escape to this underground train, which is the last place on Earth I would want to be when the building above me is collapsing. I would not want to be anywhere underground. We make it on the train, and we get our ending cutscene.
Leon?
Hey. We made it.
Just like I said we would.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that? The most absolutely abrupt ending I have ever seen in my life, where again, absolutely nothing of importance is said between Claire and Leon. There is a true ending if you beat the game as Claire on your second run. You meet Claire, and she introduces Sherry, who is Annette and Dr. Birkin's kid. And the worst part is, even in the true ending, these two are incapable of meaningful conversation. Then you fight this other boss, and you get a proper escape where you go above ground. And then Sherry says, like,
so are you guys like boyfriend and girlfriend?
Even though these two seem to lack any sort of chemistry whatsoever, I guess we can chalk it up to her being a kid and not realizing that, whatever.
We're just, we actually just met.
Even though he fell in love with Ada after like fucking 3 hours of adventuring. But whatever. There's another weird line where Sherry says,
hey, you guys can adopt me.
Even though like she's pretty fucking chipper considering her parents just died like not even that long ago. They all walk off into the sunset, and we get a happy ending. I think there's something to be said for Leon's optimism in this game, like his naivety. I think it's kind of admirable how optimistic he is throughout this whole thing, even though all this terrible shit's happening. And again, he's just trying to be this good cop, and it really makes you like him. He's just a really likable guy. But it can be a little annoying sometimes because Ada was like obviously gonna betray him, but he's so naive he can't see that. I very much enjoyed this game. I like this survival horror. I like this item management. I like this Mr. X system of this guy that's constantly following you around while you're trying to do your objective. So you're never really safe. safe. Even if you kill all the zombies, you know this guy's gonna come at any moment. I don't really understand the Claire and Leon relationship. I think it's weird. I don't know if they're trying to force this. I don't know if they're gonna get together later. I think they lack any kind of chemistry, and seriously, they never say anything meaningful to each other at all throughout the entire game. They just talk to each other like they're in a fucking elevator and they're talking about the weather, which I don't like. I guess we'll see later on in the series if they end up getting together or not. Or maybe they're just friends and I'm reading too much into it and there is no relationship there. And I look forward to playing Resident Evil 3 so we can see just how evil are these residents.